Hi, everybody. I'm Christina Alley, licensed mental health counselor and owner of Flourish Counseling Co. in Winter Park, Florida. And I just finished a session with a client, and we were discussing the difference between perfectionism and excellence. And, I figured I would share a little something and a little bit of what I shared with this client. And I thought it was possibly helpful for some people that maybe don't know the difference or maybe have a hard time separating the two. So, perfection and excellence, we'll start with what they have in common, which is they, are results driven, and maybe they're both perfectionism and excellence would have the underpinning of like you want to achieve, right? Like there is a marker of something you want to do, a drive or something. The big difference here, as we see, we parallel the two. Perfectionism has its underpinnings in anxiety and a false sense of identity. And so, what I'll watch with clients is that their performance, their achievement, their ability to hit this mark really does have a negative impact on their identity, their sense of self. And a lot of times, maybe that um, lack of achievement could also be followed by a sense of shame, a sense of disconnection, a sense of like deep frustration. And again, disconnection with self, disconnection with others. In other words, perfectionism in some way may hinder this person's ability to connect in some way with self or others. And so we just see this lack or inappropriate amount of pressure put on the self as we compare what we were able to do, which is oftentimes too hard or too heavy for us as perfectionists, right? So that when we don't hit that mark, there's something that really happens. We almost collapse inside. And it isn't even necessarily a display of frustration or a display of this public, failure, this big emotion. Sometimes perfectionism is this deep underpinning of failure or even avoidance, right? Or this like avoidance, procrastination, any variety of the sort. Even inserting this YouTube channel, the podcast, right? Like any of those things for me, even I have to combat being perfect, or wanting it to look or feel a certain way. So once we push past the perfectionism or the ideal that we've set in our brain, we can get past the perfectionism. So perfectionism leads to a sense of disconnection. It really does kind of freeze our productivity. And the underpinnings are very much so based in anxiety and fear and shame. So let's move over to excellence. Again, there's a lot of achievement in excellence. There's a lot of high standards in excellence. However, excellence is based in security and a tolerating of failure, right? So when we're trying to be excellent, it's not that we're shying away from high standards. That's okay. If somebody's intelligent or a high achiever or very capable at their job or wants to be very capable at their job, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, when we're striving for excellence, that achievement or lack thereof does not have anything to do with our sense of identity, who we are. Are we lovable or are we not? Are we a complete failure or did we just fail? So excellence allows us to tolerate failure. It allows us to make mistakes. And in that, we stay connected with ourselves and we stay connected with others. And I do think that there's something really powerful about tolerating failure and putting yourself in a place where, yes, do I have excellent standards? Absolutely, right? But if I don't meet those standards, I can try again and I can pick myself up, or I can share how that feels, or, I can take the feedback, or, I can understand what went wrong and try again. And so, I think excellence leads to growth, whereas perfectionism may lead to a collapse. And as we just see the two, I think it's really important that you understand that you are not your accomplishments. You are separate and you are completely lovable outside of what you do or don't accomplish. And once we have that freedom, so many times we'll see so much more creativity birthed, so much more productivity birthed in that. And so I just hope that as you kind of take an internal self evaluation, you take internal stock, are you functioning with high standards in perfectionism, or are you functioning in high standards in excellence? And so my hope for you is that with excellence, again, it births creativity, you maintain connection with self and others. And we do just have this sense of pursuit and the sense of tolerating failure and this sense of taking risk. And one last thing I'll say, I think those who struggle with perfectionism versus those who I've seen excel with excellence is this version of perceived support. So let's break that down a little bit. So with those who display excellence, right, they can tolerate failure. But one of the things that I think is so beautiful about excellence is that because it's filled with so much self-compassion, that I watch those who are excellent not only have compassion for themselves, they tolerate the failure of others. There's a gentleness. And in that gentleness, there is this safety and connection that actually breeds even more excellence and risk taking. Those who are more prone to risk taking, many times there's this perceived sense of safety as an underpinning, right? And so when we watch somebody strive for excellence in some way, shape, or form, they take the risk because they know that there's safety there. And whether that safety is a connection to sense of self, connection to a support system, connection with a higher power, something there that says, you know what, even if I fail, I have this to go back to. And we'll even see that with CEOs, investors, anything like that, where they'll take a risk, but they somehow know that if this doesn't work out, we'll be all right. This is what we'll do, or we trust ourselves enough to do it. So again, I think there's just such a big difference. I think that's all I have to say for now. To avoid perfectionism, I didn't write out a perfect little script. I'm fresh out of session with one of my clients. And so I'm just excited to share this with you guys and figured I would challenge my own perfectionism and just post. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I hope you hit that follow or subscribe button. And yes, I'm signing off and have a great day. Happy healing.